Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by JEMS Art Studio. This podcast is also brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to another Organized Chaos podcast. Doing the music special again. Joining me again is George. Just saw the Tears for Fears and Garbage concert last Friday, so a few days ago. I went with my eldest. George unfortunately couldn't join me because he is a square and not cool enough to go.
Yep.
No, I was disappointed he didn't make it. You will have to make it again, though, because it was a really fucking good show.
I really wanted to be there, yeah, but glad it was a good show.
Yeah. Both members of Tears for Fears have pretty much said they're not done yet. Whether or not they're just saying, hey, we're keeping going with the tour, or, you know, it really seems implied that they're specifying, hey, you know, there's at least another tour in us or something like that. I'm hoping that's what they mean when they say that. I don't know why they keep on specifying that. Like, we can look at tour dates. Yeah, we know you're not done with the tour. But, you know, it was a great show. I will definitely go again if they tour again. But in honor of the tour, we thought we'd do an album ranking. Before that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Excuse me. I'm tired from work. How you doing, George? Excuses. I should probably talk to you and acknowledge you.
I'm doing all right.
Work.
Same. Busy with work and keeping up with housework and various stuff, but doing good.
Yeah, I understand that all too well. I do not know why I am so tired, but we got an exciting podcast. I will try to perk up for it. So do you want to just dive right in, George?
Yeah, let's do Garbage, and I'll let you kick it off, since I think you're a little more familiar with the Garbage catalog than I am. I'll let you go first.
Am I probably more of a fan? I guess I had. Well, when we decided to start doing the ranking, I had to look, and I was like, oh, I'm actually missing, I think, 2 albums. I think I didn't have Beautiful Garbage or version 2.0. But I know I've listened to them at some point. I know. But, yes. So, for Garbage, my number 7 is, what did I put down? I put down Beautiful Garbage. This is their... this is their 3rd album. I felt like after their first album, which is really good, it's much higher on this list, it felt to me like they spent a lot of time trying to recapture that magic, which they kind of did with version 2.0, which I don't remember if that was more successful or just kind of on the same wavelength, but those 2 albums are huge hits.
Yeah, I don't think it sold as well as the first one, but it was still pretty big.
Yeah, it was huge. And this
the first one was huge when it came out.
But this feels kind of like version 3.0, just kind of trying to keep on recapturing it. And I want to specify, there's lots of really good songs on here. It just, I feel like every time they attempted it, it's a return on an investment. It's a diminishing investment. And this one, it just doesn't connect with me as much. Some of the songs aren't as strong as some that you normally get. There are some good ones, though. Overall, I would say I do enjoy this album. My favorite song pick would be Parade, which I believe is the closer. Let me double check that.
Yeah, I got it up too. Let me see.
Oh, no, I guess it's not the closer. So Like a Rose is a closer. But yeah, no, that was my song pick. But yeah, it is a good album. But my least favorite Garbage album.
So I will admit that prior to this ranking, I wasn't too familiar with any of the albums minus the first one.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I got the first album when it first came out in '95. I mean, it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it probably like a billion times,
Oh
but for
yeah.
some reason, I never really dived into their stuff afterwards. I mean, I think I heard 2.0
Mm-hmm.
when it came
Yeah.
out. So, Brian is really into Garbage, so he had some of them. So, I listened to the ones that he had, and then um, found some others by
Mm-hmm.
means of Jack Sparrow.
Yes.
So,
I don't know if it's quite Jack Sparrow if I give you access to them for business reasons.
oh sure. Um, so my number 7, I don't have a copy to show because I don't have one, but I put Strange Little Birds.
Oh my god.
I have a feeling that our lists are going to be completely different because I haven't really had time to really like digest any of these albums, and none of them, like, they were all pretty good albums, um and good, like a consistent quality and consistency of style. So yeah, I guess I just don't have the context of like the time in between of like repeated listenings
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot, but this one just didn't really jump out at me as much as the others. But the 3 songs off of this one that I really liked were Blackout, Night Drive Loneliness, and Teaching Little Fingers to Play.
Mm-hmm. Yep, those are good picks. Let's see. Well, what do you have for number 6?
Number 6, let me just double check here. I do not have a copy of my number 6, but I put Not Your Kind of People. And the 3 songs that I picked were Automatic System Habit, Control, and Not Your Kind of People.
Those are good picks as well.
Yeah, and I didn't really know what singles there were, so I did my picks, and then I would check to see if like were any of my picks actual singles, and most of the time at least 1 or 2 of the songs were singles.
Well, Automatic System Habit, that was their opener for their set. So
Oh, cool.
But yeah, you got some good picks on there too. So not now, but time for my number 6. And for number 6, I need to rearrange this. So my number 6 was Bleed Like Me, their 4th album. I was actually kind of surprised I ranked this higher than number 3 because their first 3 albums were made, and they were all essentially cohesively a band. They actually broke up in the middle of or I think they recorded this, but in the middle of production they broke up, and then they decided to come back together and finish it. And then I think they did like half a tour before calling it quits. But I was kind of surprised. So the album doesn't sound like something where they're breaking up. It still sounds fairly cohesive. Kind of a 4.0 sound. It still sounds like they're trying to recapture that first album more or less. But it's still good. It's still a lot of song highlights. My pick off this one was It's All Over But the Crying. Yeah, that's a great fucking song. I think I'm pretty sure this one also has let me double check. I just had it open. I want to say it's Sex Is Not the Enemy, which is also another great song from them. Yes. Yeah, just some really solid stuff. I will say the single Run Baby Run, that one never thrilled me, but a lot of the album tracks I actually like more than the singles on, especially these 2 albums, Beautiful to Garbage and Bleed Like Me. But yeah, not my favorite album, but it's still good. And for my number 5, I have. Yeah, this is probably the one where you will definitely disagree. My number 5 is version 2.0. As far as hits, this thing's just like covered with them. But I feel like in a lot of ways this is like the first album, but everything's kind of just not quite as good. And it's worth saying the first album's good enough that not quite as good as the first album is still pretty good. I do enjoy this, and there are some really solid hits on here. My song pick for this one was Push It. But, like, a lot of the singles people think of are on this album. It's on this album or the first one. Or, like, all the singles people think of for Garbage. And this one's good, but I do definitely prefer the first one.
Okay. Yeah, I think our lists might line up a little more than I thought here.
All right, so...
I think my number 5, right? Which I do not have a copy of, and I picked Bleed Like Me.
Not too far
off. And I picked Bad Boyfriend, Right Between the Eyes, and the title track, Bleed Like Me, as my favorite songs. Okay. Again, like, I don't have a lot of, like, context. Like, I mean, I totally agree that the first 2 albums have a similar sound. Mm-hmm. And then all of the subsequent albums have... there's differences there. I feel like they do more slow type ballad songs in a lot of these middle albums.
Yes.
Which is really cool, and I really enjoyed a lot of those type songs. And they have a lot of, like, dark electronica and stuff too, which is really cool. And there wasn't, like, a ton of that on the first album.
No.
But yeah, again... like, I'm not super familiar with a lot of these, but I did want to ask, do they have the same lineup on all of these albums?
Yes. It's all the same members.
Okay, cool.
All 7 albums. And yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, obviously I'm talking about them breaking up, and I was talking about the 4th album, and there's 7, so we will get to that when we get to the 5th album.
Cool.
But yes,
So I think you're on... you're number 4, right?
No, it's actually your number 4.
Oh, it's my turn to go. Oh,
we do 2 and 2. Sadly, nobody's always leading. No.
Okay, so from this point on, I actually have a copy to show. So for number 4, I picked 2.0. And for this one, I picked I Think I'm Paranoid. That's just kind of like the highlight song that when people think of Garbage, that's usually one of the songs that comes up. Push It, which I think was another single on here, and You Look So Fine, which I think might have been the closing song.
I'm pretty sure it was. It was the closing song on the set they did, so.
Oh, cool. But again, like, I heard this when it first came out, and the singles were good, but it didn't really grab me as much as the first one did. So, like, I never... Not that I was disinterested in listening to Garbage. I think I've heard some of their other songs on the radio, but, like, I just didn't really dive back into them until now. So, which I'm glad that I did, because there's a lot of good material.
No, they're one of those bands I always like, but, like, until, like, more recently when I found out they're touring with Tears for Fears, I was like, I should dive more into them, because I think I've heard all their albums at some point, but, like, let's do more of a deep dive. So now we are to my number 4. And my number 4 is, I'm looking at the Garbage discography complete. Oh, Not Your Kind of People. So this is their 5th album, done after breaking up. They were broken up for, I want to say, 7 or 8 years. And they kind of just came back together. Yes, it's been the same 4 people throughout the whole lineup for the entire band's run. And I think they've pretty much said, yeah, if somebody decides to leave or something, we'll just call it quits. But yeah, this was essentially them coming back, and this is the album. Like, I always kind of felt like, we got version 2.0, and the other ones kind of feel like there's differences, but they're trying to recapture. This is the first album where I really felt like they were doing something more like they just want to do. It's not as good as, like, let's say the first one, obviously, but I feel like there's more of an energy like you get in the first one in this one. Like they're doing what they want to do, but they're also become a bit more experienced musicians. They're a bit more experimental, and this is just a solid album. Obviously, when we deal with their later stuff, we're going into hits light, but I think I get the sense also from this one they're just kind of fine with that. They're just doing what they want at this point, and I respect that. My pick is The Battle in Me for my favorite song on this one. But, yeah, this is just a really solid album, and I like the energy of it. And then, my number 3. And what did I have for number 3? Oh, is that what I did? That's right. So my number 3 was actually their first one. This was my favorite Garbage album for a long time until very recently, pretty much. This is really good. It feels like fresh. I think I was reading a little bit up on it yesterday, actually. And Butch Vig talked about how one of the members of Garbage produced Nevermind, by the way, by Nirvana. If people didn't know that. But he talked about after that he just was producing all these like grunge albums, and it was just, and he enjoyed it, but kind of his idea was like, hey, can we do like maybe a grunge band that isn't like completely afraid of keyboards? It was just
and he did some remixes for Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails, which are obviously more keyboard heavy groups.
And he's not even a keyboardist himself. Just you could tell guys, we could do a little bit more with this, right? And this is just a good album. It's a lot of their biggest hits. Probably their biggest hits are on here, with maybe an exception or two from version 2.0. This one has Only Happy When It Rains, Stupid Girl, which was a great live mix at the show.
Nice.
I know there's a lot more hits on here. Queer was pretty big, I'm pretty sure. But even looking past the hits, there are just the album tracks on here are great. Like stuff like Milk. Milk might have been a single now that I think about it, but I'm not sure. But also, let me dig it up here.
Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia too. Just kind of.
That might be faster.
Yes,
I keep on digging up their stuff in my music selection. Yeah, As Heaven Is.
No, you are.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're right. Everything that you've said was a single. Only Happy When It Rains, Queer, Stupid Girl, Milk, and Val were the singles.
Okay, yeah, I think Val might have been the first one. But yeah, like some of the non-album tracks, Not My Idea, As Heaven Is Wide, A Stroke of Luck. These are all really fucking good songs.
Yeah,
this is just a really good album, and for years it was my favorite Garbage album. Until last week, it was my number 2 until the recent re-listen. So yeah, it might change up, but this is a great album. If you're somewhat interested in Garbage, this is definitely a great starting point. All right, so we are to your number 3.
Okay. So for that one, I chose No Gods, No Masters.
Nice.
Which this is the Record Store Day version that Brian picked up.
Yeah, I wanted to pick that up, but they were sold out.
It's a pink.
Oh, nice.
You know, they have. Garbage definitely does not have this pink aesthetic thing going on.
No.
None of their albums have the color pink on.
No, never.
So the 3 songs that I chose off of this one, and this was really good. I was really surprised by it. Like this, I'm like, and I think this is their newest one, right?
This was released last year. I want to say November of last year or something like that. So not even a year.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this.
Yeah.
So the ones I picked on here were Waiting for God, The City Will Kill You, and No Gods, No Masters, the title track.
I was actually disappointed they didn't do No Gods, No Masters at the show. I assumed they would do that one because that is a really good one. But like almost all the songs on this new one were great. I guess I will get to it when I do. But yeah, it's a really good. Their new album's great.
Yeah, and it's one of their best albums.
All right, and what do you have for number 2?
Okay, so number 2, I might need to wait for my video to catch up there. I have Beautiful Garbage.
Oh, wow. Well.
Yeah, I know. Like, we didn't quite line up on this one.
Yeah, I think
but
we're similar, but there's definitely 2 albums where we're off on.
And that's because 2 of the songs on here were, like, my 2 favorite songs out of all of the albums I listened to. But again, I listened to all of these back-to-back in no particular order. So, but I really like this one. And the songs that I picked were Can't Cry These Tears, Cup of Coffee, which I think was one of the best songs in their catalog, I thought. Very dynamic. And then Drive You Home was the other one I picked.
Those are good ones.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like this one. I know that was a little low on your list.
Yeah, that was my number 7, yeah.
That one kind of stuck out.
Like I said, there's 2 albums. It seems like I think we're fairly well matched up, but there's definitely 2 albums where we're very different on. Let's see, that's your number 2. So my number 2 is. Let's see if I dig it up. My number 2 is No Gods, No Masters, their newest one. Yeah, like when I heard they had a new album, I was like, okay, let's check this out. I like Garbage, and I was kind of floored by this album. Like, I was like, am I enjoying this more than any album I've heard by them before? And at the time, yes. I loved this. This sounds exactly like you'd expect Garbage to sound, but also like not following like any. It doesn't feel like they're doing any like preset ID. Like they're not following any formula. They're just doing their thing, and it sounds great. Honestly, looking over this, it's like The Men Who Rule the World is great. The Creeps are great. Wolves, Godhead, Anonymous X. Let's see. No God, No Masters. This City Will Kill You. Hell, even the bonus tracks on here, like No Horses and Starman. I know those are recorded separately, but great songs. Great songs. But yeah, I absolutely loved this album. And for a few months, though, it was my number 1 until about a week ago. It's a great second album. Or number 2. I would say if...
So we're at your number...
Huh?
So I think we're at your number 1 now, right?
Yeah, number 1 now. So my number 1 is actually one that has slowly crept up on me every time I listen to it, and it is Strange Little Birds.
Which is the one I put on the bottom of my list for whatever reason.
When I first heard this, I enjoyed it, but was never like my favorite or anything. And, you know, I try to do a couple listen-throughs every time I know one of these lists are coming up. I do a couple listen-throughs. And I've listened to it occasionally since then. And every time I listen to it, I like it a little bit more. And there's just something sonically I like about this. I feel like it's a bit more dense than a lot of their albums. I feel like they sometimes go a bit more atmospheric in this one, which I really appreciate. It's just a really fucking good album. And until last week, this was my number. I want to say it was my number 3 last week. For what? Oh yeah. So like song highlights. My pick was Blackout, because Blackout is kind of like when I'm thinking of atmospheric garbage. That's Blackout is just so goddamn good. But obviously the big single was big single. They don't really have huge singles anymore, but I know Empty and Magnetize were both they both had music videos and were singles, and those were both very good. Amends is a great song. Nighttime Loneliness is fantastic, Even Though Our Love Is Doomed. Yeah, there's so many great songs on this, and it's just one of those albums that it snuck up on me. It's like every time I listen to it, I just like it more, and I like it more, and I like it more. And yeah, usually I get a little bit like if I listen to an album like enough, I'll just get a little bit burnt out. But this one, just every time I listen to it, it's better. It just, I kind of love it.
Cool. I'll definitely have to give that one another listen.
Yeah, it snuck up on me. But we are at your number one now.
Number one is the debut Garbage, the first one. Waiting for my video to catch up.
Well,
I'm holding. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think my connection is a little slow, so I'm seeing like a delay in some of the video.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, OBS has a delay too. You can't really wait for it. I'll tell you if there's something up.
Okay. But the final video will be a little bit more.
No, you shouldn't have
spruced up, I'm sure. Yeah. So yeah, I got this one when it first came out. Really liked it. It was huge.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like all of my friends had a copy of this at the time. This was like what, 95, right? On this one.
I want to say something like that. I remember getting a copy used at Hoffa's and be like, "Oh, I kind of like Garbage. I'll check this out." And yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, 95. God, such a good album. And you're right. If you want to start listening to Garbage, this is probably the best place to start. Yeah. And let's see, what songs did I pick for this one? Super Vixen, the opening song. I think I maybe had heard Stupid Girl. I remember when the music video came out on MTV. But, you know, Super Vixen's the first song that I heard and on the album because it's the opening track. And I really liked the lyrics to it. It was kind of like a certain attitude about it that I really liked, and I thought the lyrics were really fun and clever. Only Happy When It Rains, obviously, it's one of the classic songs on here, and then the closing song, Milk, just a very haunting song. Yeah. So, fun fact, I remember in high school, a lot of people were wondering if Shirley Manson was Marilyn Manson's sister.
I'm familiar hearing about stuff like that. It's like, no. And
then we soon learned that Marilyn Manson's name wasn't really Marilyn Manson.
That'll slow it down, too.
But yeah, like I love every song on here. Like I said, I've listened to this like a billion times. It was like in heavy rotation back in the 90s.
Yeah, well, it's worth noting, even though this album didn't make my number one, this is by far the one I've listened to the most. I mean, just by the virtue of when it came out, when I listened to it, I guess it's inescapable, but yeah, it's a really good album. I'm certain it was the first one Ashleen had access to listening to, and yeah, she loved it.
But you're spot on, like, you know, it definitely had like the alternative grunge thing, but there were some of the bands too, like, you know, Garbage and Smashing Pumpkins that were kind of like trying to incorporate kind of the new wave of yesteryear and, you know, bringing in synths and things like that. So and it worked. It was, you know, definitely a good start.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, grunge is so like, you know, guitar based. I feel like, you know, guitar and drums, and it's, you know, it's grungy, but like I feel like the original idea of like, let's add some more synths, it's almost contradictory, but it works really well. A lot of the bands that do it, like, they do a really good mix. Smashing Pumpkins is another great example. They are definitely familiar with keyboards at that band.
Yeah.
All right.
So
any final thoughts?
But Garbage. Oh no, just a great band, and I thought this was a fun exercise, and I'm glad that I listened to all of these albums, and I'll probably be listening to them again, and I'll probably have a completely different list. But that great stuff.
Yeah. Well, will Strange Little Birds continue to rise for me, or will the first one, or No Masters, No Gods, retake it? I don't know.
Yeah, and they're all like consistently
Yeah.
good. Like usually for a band that's been around this long, you kind of like expect like dips in
Yeah.
quality and, but no, these were all consistently good albums and it wasn't easy putting these in any sort of
Yeah.
order. So,
Well, like
yeah.
Bleed Like Me, the album where they're all like breaking up half the time. It's like you don't hear it. It's still a consistent album. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Are we ready for Tears for Fears, the headliner of the show?
Yes, and I am much more familiar with these
My
albums, so like I
short
actually know what I'm
namesake.
talking
My
about
short name.
with these.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I am more familiar with these albums as well. And let's see. Do you want to start off this one, or shall I start off?
I can go ahead and start this one
All right.
off. Um, Actually, the one that I don't own happens to be the one at the bottom of my list, which is I picked Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. I'm sure you'll put the little icon up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
Cool. And I think this was the reunion album because Kurt Smith had left the band and Roland continued for a couple albums, and then some years later, Kurt returned and they did this. And the copy that I got from the library. But I remember looking through the liner notes and it said The End with curtains on the back panel. And like, oh, well, this was supposed to be their final album, I guess. But that's since changed.
Yeah, I feel like that was the intent, but they kept on working together after this.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like nothing about this really grabs me. Like I've listened to it a number of times and it's has like a lot of classic rock influences. Like some of the songs, like I can kind of hear like some Simon and Garfunkel in it, and some 60s rock and a little bit of jazz. Which obviously they were pulling from their influences to kind of say, yeah, this is where we came from, and we're a full circle kind of thing, and But again, nothing really grabbed me. But I picked Everybody Loves a Happy Ending, the title song, Lady Bird, and Closest Thing to Heaven were the songs that I really liked on here.
All right. So my number 7 is Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. Yeah, we're 100% in sync on this one. This is a fine album. In fact, I will go ahead and say this. I like Tears for Fears. I like Garbage a lot, but I like Tears for Fears quite a bit more. That being said, here. I would probably, like, if I had to pick an album between Beautiful Garbage and Everyone Loves a Happy Ending, I'd probably go for Beautiful Garbage.
I would too. Of all the albums we're talking about today, this one would probably be at the bottom of my list.
And it's not a terrible album. Who Killed Tangerine was always a highlight for me. I really like that song. I just like how it like changes in the middle. It's a different song. Overall, I like most of these songs. Call Me Mellow might be the song I dislike from their catalog the most, mostly because it kind of sounds like they're trying to go poppier rather than just doing their own thing on that one. It's a weird song. But this album doesn't feel quite as consistent. Doesn't feel... I don't know, it's weird because, like, they do a lot of things they're used to in this album.
Yeah.
But nothing, like you said, nothing stands out as much as you'd like.
It doesn't have a flow or a theme to it. It just seems like a lot of ideas just kind of compiled into one thing. Yeah.
Like Secret World is Fine. That was the one song from this album that they did on the show. But like I'd probably like my favorite was Who Killed Tangerine, but I also like the opening track, Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. Closest Thing to Heaven, I know was their single. Fun fact, that video has Brittany Murphy in it. A couple years before she died. But yeah, this album, it was weird. Because like Roland and Kurt had been apart for like 12 years or so. And you kind of get the sense, oh, Kurt's coming back, so this will be like great, and it's not as good as the stuff Roland was doing by himself, to be frank.
No, and there's nothing on here that there was a change when Roland kind of went solo with Tears
Yes,
for
yes.
Fears, but there's nothing on here that even closely resembles like the first three Tears for Fears
Yeah.
albums. So I feel like, maybe people were disappointed that it wasn't recapturing like the classic
Mm-hmm.
sound. But, I give him props for trying something
Yes.
different. And this is very different than everything else in the
Yes, it
catalog.
is.
It's just, I just don't feel the songs are as
Yeah,
strong.
no, I don't think this is a bad album, but like as far as all 14 albums we're looking at and collectively in this episode, this would be my least favorite.
Yeah, same here. Totally agree.
But that brings me to number 6. Number 6 is one that actually may not be staying there the more I listen to it, because this is literally an album I like the more I listen to it. But upon last listening to it last week, it's still at my number 6. But it's a huge step up from number 7, and it is their newest one, Tipping Point. There are a couple of songs on here that I absolutely love, and they very much channel like classic Tears for Fears, but with a new like edge to it. What I'm thinking of is primarily the lead single "Tipping Point." The newest, I don't know if it's a single or a video, but the newest video, at least, "My Demons," and what was the other one? The next to last song, "End of the Night." I love all those songs. My Demons was probably the best song at the show. The light show they put on for that was intense. Oh, and Ashley and I have decided that if My Demons doesn't make a Halloween playlist, we're not coming.
Okay, that's noted.
But yeah, this is very good, and I think probably in a year or two, this is going to be higher on the list. But right now, this is where it sits. Very tentatively. Because, like, I'm looking at number 5, and it's like, yeah, I think I still am comfortable with it there, but, ooh, it's close. It's worth noting, all the albums, like, everybody loves a happy ending, is definitely the weakest of the bunch. All the other ones I like a fair bit more.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, totally.
But where are you at for number 6?
Number 6, I picked get it out here. Picked Elemental.
Okay.
For number 6. And yeah, this is the first one after the departure of Kurt Smith and Roland went solo. Yeah. I always felt, after a re-listen, I like this one more and more every time I listen to it, but I've always felt this is kind of an uneven album. There's some really great moments on here, though. Break It Down Again is, I would say, ranks up there with any of the classic Tears for Fears songs. It's such a great song. The opening track Elemental is also really good, and Mr. Pessimistic on here, I really, really like that song. And I have to bring up Wikipedia so I can remember what the singles were.
We'll Break It Down Again, obviously. That was one of their biggest singles.
Yeah, because I owned a best of first.
Yeah, so did
I. Yeah, and I remember our best ofs were completely different. Mine had Break It Down Again, but yours had the Hurting tracks on it, and mine did not. And I was kind of bummed about that.
I realized what was going on was my best of was meant to be like a best of volume 1. It's supposed to be like the collection of Roland and Kurt stuff. And then I think the plan was to do a best of volume 2 that was just Roland stuff, which never happened.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any other best of volumes. I've seen like
they've done other best ofs, different but yeah, not like a volume 2, not the best of Roland solo.
Yeah, different variations of the same kind of best of. Like they would add some newer songs here or there, but fundamentally they're all kind of like the same collection.
Yeah. Like I don't know if they've ever done a best of without Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Oh yeah, no, that would be a sin to leave that off. So it looks like the singles on that were Break It Down Again, Cold, Goodnight Song, and Elemental. So,
yeah, well, I know there are videos for Elemental and Cold, so I'm kind of surprised that isn't listed as single. But it's weird; they sometimes do videos for songs that aren't singles. I don't know what makes them choose that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. they try to commission it as a single, and they'll make a video just to kind of see if it takes off before and a company will decide whether or not they want to like release the track. Okay, so am I at number 5, or is it your go?
Wait, you led. Yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be your number 5, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. So for number 5, I picked Raul and the Kings of Spain.
Raul.
Which was the album. Raul, which was right after Elemental. This is the second album where Roland was kind of solo. This one really grows on me the more and more that I listen to it. It has a very consistent style and a consistent theme. I remember the first track that I heard off of this was the single God's Mistake. I actually found a promo at a pawn shop many years ago, but I don't have that anymore. But I always thought that was a weak track. But when I finally got around to picking up the CD, there's a lot of good stuff on here. And the tracks I picked were Falling Down, which I think was one of the singles. Sketches of Pain, which is a phenomenal song. And then the track called Sorry, which has kind of like this, very cool juxtaposition of like some
kind of more rock
minor majors.
Go with that one, but yeah.
Yeah. And Sorry also brings back some of those kind of like keyboard type sounds that they're pretty known for in the first few albums. So, but yeah, that is my number 5.
Okay. Now we're definitely to meet. So this is going to be my number 5. My number 5 is The Seeds of Love. Kurt's last album before he left and rejoined. Their third one.
Right.
This is overall, I really like this album. It's not all the songs are my favorites on here, but like the good ones are so goddamn good. I picked
the singles are phenomenal.
Yeah, I picked Sowing the Seeds of Love as my track pick. But I know there's lots of great ones on here. Overall, I like this one quite a bit. There's actually some great, I want to say like B-sides and leftover tracks that, from this one in particular. Tears Roll Down is, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a rarity from this album that didn't quite make the album.
And I think there's a couple different versions of that song too, because I think the B-side version is kind of different than the one that appears on the compilation.
Yeah, there's the one on here is instrumental, which is great, and then the compilation version is essentially that, but with lyrics, and that works great too. They're both very different songs, even though essentially musically they're pretty much the same, but like they both work really well, just going for different things. Let's see. But yeah, there's definitely more of a jazz influence in this one, probably a bit more than probably their other ones. Probably for jazz influence, it's probably like between this, Everyone Loves a Happy Ending, and Songs from the Big Chair.
And I know I'll probably address it a little more, but like the singles are phenomenal.
Yeah, on this one.
And then when I first listened to the album, I was kind of off put by it because I was kind of expecting kind of more in line with the singles off of this, and this was a huge change.
Yeah, sonically
from like sonically from the first couple albums. Like, they're kind of like the dark synth pop from the first 2 albums are just not to be found here at all.
Well,
but
I was just gonna say, like, the singles on this sound like stuff from the first 2 albums. The album tracks are much jazzier. They are actually very good. I actually like almost all the album tracks on here.
Me too. It just took a while to. It just took a while to grow on me. That's all.
It's not Tears for Fears as you've heard them before, really. If you're just familiar with the first 2, the album tracks on here will throw you for a loop. But they are very good still. They are.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, that's my number 5, and then number 4 is something that's already been just talked about on here. Elemental. This is Roland's first album without Kurt. I do think it's interesting we have the album cover with just essentially Roland by himself looking down. I don't know if that's supposed to be him, like, missing his friend or anything, but
maybe.
Yeah, this is his first essentially solo album under the name Tears for Fears. I actually thought it was interesting you said this one is inconsistent, because one thing I always found about this one was that I found all the songs, I want to stress, all the songs on here I think are actually pretty fucking good. But to me, there's almost a sameness to a lot of these songs.
Well, and I feel like Break It Down Again is like, it's like grade A, but everything else on the album seems like grade B. If that's
Maybe,
fair.
I don't know. I think I have a different feeling towards this one than you do. I do think there's great Tears for Fears stuff on here, but yeah, I do feel like the album, I feel like if you played this album on random, you would get the same effect as listening to it in track order.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, there's the tracks. There's no like evolution.
Yeah, the album isn't an experience. It feels like a collection of singles, even though they're not all singles. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, Raoul was a much better consistency of flow and theme for sure than this one.
We'll definitely get to Raoul, because that's a personal album for me. But yes, Elemental is my number 4. I think I do want to stress, even though Kurt's not there, I do think for like Roland going out on his own for the first time, I think this is good. This does show that Tears for Fears can't continue without Kurt. Maybe it's not going to be the best incarnation, but it is still a very good incarnation. I'd be fine with more albums with just Roland. I'm glad Kurt's back, but I'm cool either way, kind of.
Yeah, no, agreed. That for just Roland, they're actually really good, really good albums.
Let's see. Okay, so we are at your number 4 now.
My number 4, I picked The Tipping Point, which I was pleasantly surprised about this. Because when I first put this on and I heard the opening track, No Small Thing, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is going to be another happy ending type album. But as it went along, it's like all the other songs on here are great. And I actually had a hard time choosing some songs on here. And this is another album where the songs are completely different from each other. There's a lot of different styles, but they work. And the flow is really good. But yeah, like you said, My Demons is just a phenomenal song. I keep using that word, phenomenal. Yeah. That just kind of that shows how much I love this band.
Well, it sums up a lot of their stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah. What other songs did I pick up for this one? Rivers of Mercy.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Very good song. And then Master Plan, I thought was an excellent track. And I will say I got a little bummed that I bought this when it first came out, and then there was a Target edition a little later that has like a bonus 7-inch with more songs on it. And I'm like, damn it, I already bought it.
Yeah, I've seen that there's bonus songs. I was like, there's bonus songs? What the fuck? I didn't get those. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah.
But I'm not.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm just like, I'm not really in the business of rebuying albums anymore.
But yeah, no, I do think this one will grow on me. I think if we do this again, this one will be quite a bit. Well, I don't know if it'll be quite a bit higher, but I think it will be higher. We will have to see, though. It's tough to judge, but every time I listen to it, I like it more.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah,
I felt the same way as you did when I first heard No Small Thing, which is the opening track on here. It was their second single. I remember putting on the video because I love the Tipping Point single. Then I put in the No Small Thing single, and I'm like, eh. But I do have to say that song grows on you. And I do think it works really well for the intro to the album. Because it almost feels like a transition from Everyone Loves a Happy Ending to what this album is. It feels like a middle ground song. And it works really well in that position.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. But yeah, this is just one of those, like, it's like, okay, there's a new Tears for Fears album. It's been a number of years.
A couple.
And I'm like, yeah, and it was just kind of like, oh wow, I was just it was way better than I expected it to be, especially coming off of the previous record.
Well,
so.
I had high hopes with the Tipping Point single because that intro single, I loved the Tipping Point song. I thought that was a great song. And
yeah, no, it is a great song.
And where are we at now?
Number 3.
Okay, is it still to you? I'm losing track.
I think so, because I think I led off with 4. So number 3, I picked The Seeds of Love, and this one I was really excited because I've owned the first 2 albums, on vinyl. I've had those for ages, and this one was always a little harder to find because I think this was 91.
I thought it was 89. Is it 91?
I remember it came out. No, you're right. I think it is 89. Yeah, 89. Yeah, no, you're right. But that was when it was a little harder to find some of like the late 80s, early 90s records. And getting a secondhand copy was very expensive, and they just reissued this recently. Oh, nice. So I'm like, yay, I can get this on vinyl now. Woohoo. Now, if only they could release Elemental and Kings of Spain on vinyl, that would be awesome.
Those ones aren't vinyl? I didn't realize that.
Elemental is, but it's imported only, and it's really hard to find, and I don't think Rail ever, or Kings of Spain ever got a vinyl release.
That's disappointing. I will say it does feel like... Yeah. It feels like when you just like, especially live, I noticed this. It feels like those 2 albums are kind of like, probably because it's rolling by himself there. I'm trying to think the Odd Duck albums. Break It Down Again was the only single or the only song they did off those 2 albums. And I think,
it's probably the most well-known song.
Yeah, I think it's so popular that it would be tough for them not to do it if they do a long enough set. That being said, there are some gems on those 2 albums. I feel kind of it's a little sad.
Oh, for sure.
That it seems like they hold it in disregard, and I hope they don't, because Roland did a good job with those albums.
No, he did, and I think they're just kind of lesser known.
Yeah.
So, and definitely underrated. Anyways, I think we've talked about the style of this album. But the songs that I picked were actually the 3 singles because they're
good singles.
Phenomenal. There I go again. Phenomenal. And one of my all-time favorite songs is from Tears for Fears' "Woman in Chains," and that's my absolute favorite song on here. But the other 2 are "Advice for the Young at Heart" and "Seeds of Love," the singles. Yeah. they're just so good. But yeah, the other tracks have definitely grown on me over the years. Like "Badman Song" is a very cool track.
They did that one too.
Oh, did they play that?
Yeah, they did "Badman Song." I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. Cool.
I guess "Year of the Knife" would be a deeper cut.
Yeah, they did not do that one.
Knife.
That is a good one.
And I think that was like a minor single in some territories.
Oh, really?
I think.
I did not know that.
I think so. Let me look it up real quick. No, I was wrong. It was "Famous Last Words."
Okay. Well, "Famous Last Words" is a great closing song too.
Yeah.
And it would be remiss of the Genesis fan in me not to mention how the not drum machine part of "Woman in Chains" is performed by Phil Collins.
Really?
Yes. In the studio.
How did I not? How did I not know that? Let me. Not that I don't believe you, but I am fact checking that. You're absolutely right. Damn, how did I not know that?
No, he was busy in the 80s. He was all over the place in the 80s. But
oh god, I love that song so much.
It's a good one. They did that one too. Obviously, Phil didn't play drums on the live version.
Right.
Let's see. So we're to my number 3. I'm pretty sure that makes sense. So I did. Was Elemental the last one I brought up? It has to be. Helps if I look at the list.
Yeah, that was the one.
Okay, my number 3. We're getting down to the nitty gritty now.
I know.
My number 3 is their debut album, The Hurting. This is such a good debut album. It's different than a lot of their other stuff. This feels like more gothic synth than a lot of their stuff. It's darker, but it's so goddamn good. I'm trying to think. I'm kind of cool with most any song off this album, to be perfectly honest. I picked Watch Me Bleed as my favorite track. But, like, Suffer the Children, what are the singles on here? Obviously, we get Mad World, which is probably better known for the cover version. But the original version is fantastic as well. I love for the live show, they brought back, like, if you listen to the live album done for Everybody Loves a Happy Ending, the version of Mad World they do is sonically a bit more like the cover.
Oh, interesting.
But for this latest show I just went to, they 100% did their version of Mad World, and it was great.
I think I prefer the original version of Mad World.
I like that cover is really good, but I like the original.
I know there's sometimes where there's iconic covers that come out a little later, but when you've spent like much of your youth growing up with a particular song, it's it almost feels like people just don't even acknowledge the original track with some of these popular covers. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, well, this is cool too. This is where it started,
Yeah. Well, so I just brought up the track list on here, and it's weird. Like, we have Change and Pale Shelter and Mad World, and those are definitely the big singles. But, like, all the other songs are songs that, like, I look at the title and it's like, I know that song. And the Memories Fade is fantastic. The Hurting, the opening track, fantastic. Start the Breakdown. I think there's only one. Closer. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think there's only like one weak track on here, like Ideas as Opiates. It's just kind of like this minimal, weird song, but it's not a bad song.
No, I like it. Like, yeah, it's definitely minimal, but like I wouldn't. Yeah, I would. I still really like it. Yeah, this is just like for a debut album. This is great. I don't know if I would recommend this as like if you want to get into Tears for Fears, it's a good intro album, but would definitely be one to listen to early on.
Yeah, I would say definitely as your second or third album to listen to.
Because this isn't 100% the direction they go to. This album's darker than I think any of their other albums. But it's good. Like they carry the darkness well. So yeah, it's a good one. I love The Hurting.
Same here.
And number 2 is actually much more a personal pick for me because I don't think sonically it is as good as most of the stuff I've even talked about. But my personal pick is Raoul and the Kings of Spain. So, I'm divorced. I get a whole bunch of CDs from the library because I'm looking for a job. I'm just trying to pick up my life. One of the CDs, the only Tears for Fears album they have, and I was like, oh, I should look into Tears for Fears. I kind of like them. The only Tears for Fears album they have is Raoul and the Kings of Spain. And yeah, that album, it's part of what helped me through my divorce. I loved it. It's only like later, but made sense that I learned that, it was written about a divorce. It was written about the divorce of his parents. And that's why sonically it kind of flows together more than like Elemental, because he doesn't call it a concept album, but he says there's very much a theme to this album. It's divorce. And yeah, it's just like when I listened to it going through that period of my life, it hit me. And I do not think artistically this is their best. There's some stuff, like lyrically, I feel like it gets a little cliche sometimes, which kind of bugs me. But it is tough for me not to just love this album. It just got me at a point in my life, and it became one of my all-time favorite albums. So I love this one.
Yeah, it's a good album.
Yeah,
and it's one that kind of grows on me every time I listen to it.
I picked the title track, Raoul and the Kings of Spain, is my favorite. Humdrum and Humble is good. Sorry is good. I could probably name most of the songs on here, and this one also has the obscure live track. Their cover, or I should say, his cover is of "Creep," which is fun. I was kind of hoping they would do that to close out the show this time, but they didn't.
Is it the Radiohead song?
Yeah,
I'm
the
guessing.
Radiohead song.
Okay.
Yeah, Roland does his version of it, and it's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, I know that's one of the bonus tracks, but I haven't gotten into those quite
yet. There's a couple, like I want to say "The Madness of Roland's" a really good bonus track. I guess it doesn't count towards the album, but this one has some good bonus tracks on it. But yeah, I know artistically this isn't their best, but like just emotionally, I have a connection to this one that I don't think I'm ever going to shake ever. It brings it to number 2 for me.
Cool. Well, it's a good one. So cool.
And I believe we're at your number 2.
And I'm pretty sure what it is. At my list here.
See. You might throw me for a loop.
Again, whenever we do these, it's like, process of elimination. Yeah. If you're a fan and you've been paying attention, you know where we're kind of at with this. So, my number 2 is The Hurting.
I guessed.
Yeah. For the longest time, I only ever owned the best of, which, as mentioned previously, was very different from Bob's best of. I remember we made copies of our best ofs for each other, so it was weird too, because like yours had songs that mine didn't, and then some of the versions of some of the songs were different between the two. Like mine had like edits and remixes and things like that, and yours had different edits and remixes. So, but I really liked these tracks off of that best of. So for many years, I hunted down a CD of this, and I only had the best of, and then The Hurting for several years. But yeah, no, like you said, Bob, you pretty much summed it up. It's kind of dark synth, kind of has like a goth kind of feel to it. Maybe a little Depeche Mode-esque at times.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I first got into Tears for Fears. I'll save that for the next album, because it relates more to that one than it does this one. But
well, I wonder what the number 1 will be for both of us.
I wonder what that is.
There's definitely not an album neither of us have talked about yet.
But number 2 is The Hurting, just a great album. One of those debuts too, where not every band has like a very, knockout debut. But both Garbage and Tears for Fears had a knockout debut.
Yes, they did. What's some of your favorite tracks on there?
I guess I should talk about those, huh? Mad World, obviously, Pale Shelter, obviously, and then the closing track, Start at the Breakdown, are my favorite tracks.
Those are good ones.
Yep.
My God, I feel like maybe I should layer up both of our picks here, because we're both at the same point right now. So my
is
number
it my
1,
go or your go?
I don't know if
it's your go. Okay.
Number 1, and I actually do. I have this guy vinyl I got for this one. It's a little album called Songs from the Big Chair. I don't know if you've heard of it.
You probably haven't heard of it.
It's a very obscure album by them. Nobody's really like. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. What song is that? I don't think anybody's heard of that song. Especially,
it's a deep cut.
Especially if you've seen any movie in the 80s, you've never heard that song. No, this is. You could even joke and call this their greatest hits and not be 100% wrong. Although I think that does shortchange the album tracks, because the album tracks on here are good. That being said, there's not a whole lot of album tracks that weren't singles on here.
I think there was only a few.
Yeah, I
want
to say like Working Hour and Listen.
Broken and Listen.
And Broken kind of goes with Head. Oh yeah, I guess the Broken that goes before Head Over Heels, but like, yeah, there's a Broken that goes with Head Over Heels. So,
which you could technically argue that like some of the versions that were released on the 12-inch and some radio versions have elements of Broken in it. So So it's like you can argue it's just kind of part of that track.
Yeah. But this is definitely their jazziest album to this date. Now they got jazzier with Seeds of Love, obviously. I believe that's probably their jazziest album. But this one, like, especially with, like, Listen, Listen got kind of jazzy and almost kind of new agey. Listen's one of those songs I just really love. It's just one of the few album tracks on here that wasn't a single, but it's very, like, peaceful. I love it. Like, if you ever just want to, like, calm down, listen to it. Listen.
Listen to Listen. Yeah.
But yeah, for the best, my favorite track, it's Head Over Heels. I've always loved the song Head Over Heels. It's so goddamn good. But like, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Shout, I Believe, Mother's Talk. I don't even know what to say about those that hasn't been said before. They're amazing. But yeah, songs from the Big Chair. Not exactly a controversial choice for best Tears for Fears album, but there's a reason for that, because it's just so goddamn good. So good.
Yeah.
And what's your number one, George?
Well, this little independent album that you've probably never heard of before. Songs from the Big Chair. The first song that I ever remember hearing by them was Shout. And I was at a friend's house in high school, and his mom was blasting Shout. And I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds like Depeche Mode a little bit. This is really, really cool. What is this? He's like, oh, it's Tears for Fears. And I've always heard of Tears for Fears. Then I got the best of, and of course, like, oh yeah, I know some of these other songs. So that's what kind of took me down the rabbit hole. But yeah, it's like, God, every song on here was a...
I'm looking at going, what isn't a hit?
Yeah, Listen and The Working Hour are probably the only tracks on here that were not singles, which Working Hour is one of my all-time favorite songs by them too. So as my choices, I picked Shout, The Working Hour, and Head Over Heels. Now, like, I know, like, Everybody Wants to Rule the World should probably be in that top 3, but every song on here is a banger. I mean, it's just from start to finish, it's A+. It's just one of those albums where it's just like, yeah, it's a big album for a reason.
No, like, all the singles are great, but like the album tracks are like just as good.
Yeah. And this is probably them coming into their own too, as the Hurting kind of feels like it may have been like a foot in the door. They're kind of doing what was popular with like the synth pop, the kind of like the goth era was kind of popular there in the like early to mid 80s. But here, when you're right, definitely some jazzier new age influences here too, but I really liked what they did. Like, it's like a completely different side of synth pop that you never heard before, and like I don't think anyone else has done anything like that. Because when you listen to some of these songs, like Everybody Wants to Rule the World and Shout, they have so many movements, and like there's not a ton of like repetition in the instrumentation. At least like Shout is a repetitive song, but you can hear like the building throughout the track, and there's like 3 or 4 different solos with different instruments and things. It's just a lot of like progressive rock in here too, I would say.
Well, I don't know if this was the only album they did like. So like the band is pretty much Kurt and Roland. Everybody admits that. But like here they brought on I want to say a drummer and someone else. I'm looking. Oh yeah. They have a drummer and a keyboardist listed along with the band, Ian Stanley and Manny Ellis. Now eventually it would just become Roland and Kurt. They would just bring in session musicians. But yeah, this is them experimenting with actually being like a full band. And it looks like Stanley and Manny Elias contributed a fair bit to the songwriting here too as well. It's actually mostly Roland, but yeah, no, I think it's interesting that they brought them on as full-time members, just I guess to kind of to experiment with the band. I'm not 100% sure what they brought, but like it's such a good album, so I have to wonder. But like Roland and Kurt are good as well, so So yeah. It makes you wonder.
No, you're right. Like yeah, it sounds like a band playing. Like it still has all of those like electronic elements from the first album, but they're more fleshed out, and the songs have like more progression to them. And
going into their origin a little bit, they talk about how the band just started because Roland and Kurt were hanging out in the garage, and they had like some synths and a drum machine, and they were just playing around and seeing what they could create, and that was the origin of Tears for Fears. And this might be the first time where they're actually bringing on like, more serious musicians, kind of just to flush out the sound, and it really works.
Yeah. And they kind of developed their own sound with this album too. Like I said, there's not like a ton from that era that sounds like this. Like even if, maybe someone like the keyboard sound a little dated, for the time it was, something that no one had done before.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you already brought up how the Hurting, you brought up Depeche Mode, and yeah, it does sound like a Depeche Mode album to me too. Not 100%. It's not the same, but like I feel Depeche Mode inspired with that one. This
right. It was just kind of in line.
No.
Yeah.
But yes, that was quite a twist for the final album. But you know what? George is gonna sit out for a little bit while I cut in myself and my daughter talking about our concert experience and show some clips from the concert. Hey, here with my eldest. Say hello, Ashley.
Hi.
Hey, we're about ready to start Tears for Fears and Garbage. I just want to point out how I'm kind of impressed by this venue. Like we're just sitting in the lawn so we can record this with minimal audio interference. But like even from the lawn, like there is a totally decent view of the stage. Lawn seats are totally decent. And we're actually sitting a little ways in there, so we're doing all right. But I thought it'd be fun to record like our thoughts going into a show. Garbage starts at 7:30. It's around 7 right now. What are your thoughts?
So it's big, and we can sit down, and I appreciate that. It's really hot outside.
Oh yeah, apparently I also put them on the spot. It is very hot outside. Getting onto the cover will be nice. But I just thought this was a really nice venue. We're at Nobleville, Indiana, the Ruoff Center. Parking's kind of weird. I'm used to venues having like street parking because it's usually somewhat downtown area. Not here. So we're going to figure out the parking situation, it seems like, when we leave. But yeah, other than that, good venue. I am looking forward to the show. I'm a big fan of Garbage. Tears for Fears is one of my all-time favorites. I'm trying to think of songs I'd like to hear. We'll have to see. I'd love it if like Garbage played Amends, but I don't think they're going to play that. Popular songs that I think they have a chance of playing. Well, most anything off the new album. No Gods, No Masters was great. Yeah, that'd probably be the one I'd be most excited to hear because the new album was really good. And as for Tears for Fears, God, I mean, I assume we're going to hear kind of the classics, which would be like Shout, Everyone Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels. Some of the stuff off the new album, I'd love it if they played My Demons, and I think Tipping Point's definitely going to be in the set. But yeah, this should be a fun show. As far as like obscure songs from Tears for Fears, I'd love it if they played, but they didn't. Probably like Tears Roll Down or something like that would be awesome. But yeah, they aren't going to do that. Some of the Seeds of Love would be fun. There's a decent chance of that one. Any songs you'd like to hear, Ashley?
Well, pretty much what you said.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we'll also give you our thoughts afterwards.
on my way out of hell, but I just want more song to sing, one more story to tell. Raise your hand, match your tongue. Conversation is over and done. We let 'em out, we let 'em in. We will know when it's the tipping point, when acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to be and we can keep it on earth. One of these days you gotta cut it the blues, yeah, yeah. And anything is possible when you're sowing the seeds. It's been a long time. She's the fire and the fire. She reminds you of the things we never talk about. She's the lover with the best laid plans to break the man. Turn on my VI, no need to wonder. Go faster, go faster, go breathing, disaster. This is human hands, it ain't human touch. It's fighting fun, don't get off that bar. So much, yeah, here I imagine. So faith and understand what you need. Hello teacher, tell me what's my little son. Look right through me, look right through me. I'm finally kind of funny, I'm finally kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. Finding hard to tell you, 'cause I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very Cause he knows in his heart you be up soon. Cause he's an only child and an only room, and he's dependent on you. He's dependent on you. And it seems so strange at the end of the day. You better love and you better be. You better love and you better be. Warm on the cheese, warm on So those are my dreams, and these are my eyes. Stand tall like a man. It sounds like a horse when it's all mixed up. Better break it down. I wanted to be with you alone. Talk about the weather, but you just sounds like I'm chasing. It's a job in your face. Won't escape my attention. Show me all the sadness and the suffering. Tears you turn to joy, and through the world of noise, to ignore me, to worry about the world. It's all too late. Change. You can't change. You shouldn't have to shut the door. Let it all out. These are the things I can do without. I'm talking to you.
So we just got out Tears for Fears with Garbage opening. God, does lighting make my eyes look weird?
I don't think so. I don't think either of our eyes look very great currently. Just with,
I think I look great. I'm looking great right now.
Well, I think that we should just let nature do its thing. We can't really set up a studio in here.
This is me making a normal face, by the way. No. Yeah, no, weird lighting. But we just got out Tears for Fears with Garbage opening. I loved it. Tears for Fears killed it. Garbage as the opening act was they were great. What I really took away from the Garbage act, something that shocked me, I want to say it was Stupid Girl, and what was the other one? I think there was one immediately after Stupid Girl. I don't remember. Do you remember what they did after Stupid Girl?
No, I was gonna ask if you could tell me how it went, but is that like a copyright problem?
No. I mean, we're actually doing a review of it, which would qualify under fair use.
Fair use.
Yes. No, we could talk freely about it.
I don't mean like. I meant like, could you sing a little bit of it to me, because then I could pick up on it.
What? Yeah. You stupid girl.
No, I know Stupid Girl. The one after it.
No, that's the thing. I don't remember it.
You just remember that it was good.
Yes. Well, I remember Stupid Girl and the one after it, and then Cherry Lips. All the mix they did for this live version was way different than the album versions, and I really like the live mix. I don't know if Garbage has done a live album, but they really fucking should. Especially Cherry Lips. Cherry Lips might have been one of my favorite songs of the show that they did opening for Tears for Fears tonight. And that is not one of my favorite songs at all. It's fine, but like as far as like their studio cuts, it's fine. Especially for their singles, it's not one of their better ones in my opinion. But like that was good live. What were some of your favorite ones they did?
Well, I liked Queer. I'm trying to think of other stuff. My brain is empty.
Yes. Yeah, they didn't do Empty. I was actually kind of expecting them to do Empty.
Wait.
Yeah, they actually do have a song called Empty. It was off, not their last album, but the album before last. That's a good one, like Empty and Magnetized. Strange Little Birds is a really good one.
I really
check it out.
Magnetized.
I'm trying to think, did they do anything off Strange Little Birds? They may not have. I don't think they did. They did do World Is Not Enough. I was not expecting that.
Oh, yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah, they dropped it in there. I was like, oh my god, they're doing the James Bond song. Cool. The only thing I would say I was disappointed with is they did not do No Masters, No Gods, which really surprised me. I think they did The Creeps, though, which I believe is just an album track. They did The Men That Rule the World off a new one as well. I believe that was the second one. You know, and it's going to be weird having me, like, having trouble remembering, because, like, if you're watching this on the podcast, like, I will have just done, like, the montage of all the songs they did, so you're going to be like, well, they did this, don't you remember? Listen, man, for me it was like a couple hours ago. For you it was like 10 minutes ago. Give me a break. But yeah, they were really good. They were a great opening act. I was disappointed when they were done. I was hoping they'd do a bit more. They did like pretty much exactly an hour. They were great, but yeah, my biggest complaint for Garbage is I would want more. But like if it's a good show, that's my general complaint. More.
They did a cover of Wicked Ways.
Yes, and in between, they did an interlude of Personal Jesus, which was awesome.
Yes.
And dedicated to Andy Fletcher. If you don't know, he's the member of Depeche Mode that died fairly recently. Super disappointing. Depeche Mode's been one of those bands I've been really wanting to go see live, and I haven't seen them yet. And I hope it doesn't end the band. I'll be blunt. It's super sad that he's gone, though. But I love that Garbage did that. I was not expecting him just dropping Personal Jesus in the middle of one of their songs, but they did, and they did it pretty seamlessly. Yeah, they were great. I loved it. Hey, do you have any final thoughts on Garbage before we move on? I mean, look at we're in the parking spot, and it is completely wrecked right now. So like, we will be in no rush. We can talk about this for a while.
I'll just be like collecting my thoughts like silently for an hour, and then later I'll be like, you know what I really liked about that Garbage opening?
Yeah, we'll be like pretty much done with Tears for Fears. We'll be like, oh, you know that Garbage song I liked, which is fine. You can jump around. It's going to go into a podcast.
Oh,
Podcasts are known for being a bit sporadic.
Oh yeah, I liked I'm Only Happy When It Rains. I felt that was very
they did a kind of a remix of that one too.
Yeah, it was nice. I noticed someone wasn't singing along.
I'm sorry. Am I in trouble?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I sang along a little bit, and then you gave me an evil look, and then I was like, what, am I not supposed to sing along?
I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you, so I thought that you weren't.
I usually fail, but I try to do like this concert voice thing where I try not to have my voice overpower like the show. And maybe when
I don't think you can do that though, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that power to interrupt her with her mic on.
Well, no, we're not gonna interrupt it for the whole show, but I don't want to interrupt it for the people around us. Does that make sense?
Okay. So
in our immediate vicinity.
You don't want to be doing your great belting voice.
Yeah. I'm only happy when it rains.
I'm only happy when it rains.
Yeah, she's gonna show off here. Enough out of you. Tell us in the comment who sang it better. It was me. It was me.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Got that.
Depeche Mode. Oh God. Tears for Fears.
Yes, the band we all came to see.
Tears for Fears was God. I hope we do get to see Depeche Mode at some point. But Tears for Fears. I was really happy that Roland essentially said, "Yeah, we're not done." So we will get more chance to see him because this show was great.
Oh yes, that was very very good.
Yeah, I was happy when he was like, "Yeah, we're not done yet, guys. Don't worry, we're not done." And I was like, "Yeah." But yeah, Tears for Fears was really good. They obviously had the whole light show get up for them. What was your favorite song they did?
Probably My Demons.
My Demons had the lights went on overdrive for My Demons.
Yeah, and you got like all of like the stuff in the back. And
they played the music video in the center, and then it was like intense light show. Like I think I recorded the most from My Demons, so like you'll see a clip of My Demons probably already. But yeah, that was such a good performance. I hope that becomes like a live staple for him. I don't think it's gonna be a huge hit for him because they don't really get huge hits anymore. But I hope that becomes like a live staple.
And I mean, just the song itself, like the way it sounds, it just sounds colorful. No, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's
a lot of their songs sound that way.
Yeah,
sort of vibrant.
Well, one thing I will say about My Demons is it sounds like, especially the beginning, sounds like a Halloween song, and I love it.
It's great. It's amazing.
The do 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 do. It's such a Halloween beat, and I love it.
I love those Halloweenish, villainish chords and beats and stuff. They're fabulous.
I'm going to tell George if next Halloween party, if My Demons isn't on the playlist, I'm not going. I'm just gonna lay down the line. You
just sneak a look at the playlist and you're like, actually, we're leaving now.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm kind of busy. But you already drove up here. Yeah, but we're busy and you're not playing my song. No, My Demons was great. Obviously, they did I always thought of them as like the three big songs. It's all off the same album, but I always thought of it as they're like classic, like trio, and it's Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels, and Shout, and they did do all those. Shout was the set closer, yes. Or maybe I should say the encore closer. Yes. Because what was the set closer? I don't know. It's on Setlist FM. It'll be posted.
Yeah, it'll be there eventually.
Yeah. Yes. No, I was shocked when I looked up the garbage on Setlist FM. They had already posted it at 8:30. Somebody had already updated it. As soon as the show ended, it was like, damn, somebody's on that. Okay. Yeah. Because I was like, maybe I'll poke around, see. Holy crap. I might actually edit it because they didn't put in Personal Jesus. I was like, Personal Jesus interlude, hello. They totally did that.
Personal Jesus was amazing.
Yes, they did a great job.
I liked Personal Jesus. Mm-hmm. I know as soon as it started, I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're doing it.
No, when it started, I was like, that sounds like Depeche. Yeah, that's Depeche Mode. But yeah, Everybody That Wants to Rule the World was the closer for like their opening set, which that's a good for your opening set. That's a good song to end on because that's a classic. That is like of the trio I mentioned. That's like the classic one. Yeah. But I want to say I'm trying to think if there's any really big hits they missed because they did Pale Shelter. They did they do Change? Yes, they did Change in the encore. So they did Change. Mad World. I want to bring up Mad World.
Oh yeah, they did Mad World.
But more importantly, I have the live album for I want to say the 2004 Everyone. I'm brain farting on the album title. Everyone Deserves a Happy Ending. For that tour, they did like a slower version of Mad World that actually sounds kind of like the cover.
Oh, okay.
And on this tour, they do their version. They do not do like a slower version or a remix version or anything. This is definitively their Mad World. Awesome.
It was so fun and so sad. I had a great time.
It's such a contrast.
The dissonance is incredible.
They're so happy singing about the dreams where they're dying. They're literally happy about it. It's great. Yeah, God, Tears for Fears were so good. I'm trying to think. Yeah, as far as the hit songs, they did Break It Down Again. Break It Down Again, I think, was the only song for the era where Kurt left the band, Kurt Smith. Because those two guys, Roland Orbisol, I'm probably murdering his last name. I always see it spelled, but I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce it. Roland and Kurt Smith. His last name's easy.
It's fine. They said they wanted to be on first name basis.
Yeah.
Even though I'm certain they didn't hear either of our names, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I didn't even yell my name. It's like, you're not going to hear crap.
I did, but I knew with confidence that they weren't going to hear that. Yeah. They weren't going to be like, oh my goodness, is that an Ashleen?
Give me 5. Bam. Oh, Ashleens are popular tonight. Yeah, where were we at? We were at,
We were just talking about Mad World, I want to say.
Mad World? I thought we'd moved on from Mad World.
I think we were, starting to move on. We were talking about the people's names.
That's right, we had gone on to Break It Down Again, because that's the one song from the air, because there was 2 albums released when Kurt Smith left the band, and I want to say he was out of the band for 13 years or something like that. And it was essentially a solo project for Roland at that point. I do think it's an underrated air, and in fact, I really like the albums from that air. So, Raoul and the Kings of Spain, which I think artistically isn't one of their best albums, but it is actually one of my personal favorites, because it kind of helped me through my divorce, because that album is actually a divorce album. It's kind of a distant divorce album, because it's about the divorce of Roland's parents. It's not about his divorce, which I'm not even sure if he has a divorce. He may not.
So it's actually for me.
Yeah, I guess it's more for you. But that album always spoke to me, but it probably has the least amount of singles, and that's probably why it wasn't really touched on for the show, which is a little disappointing, but I kind of expect it because it's not really a standout album for them in a lot of ways. I guess I should say for him, because Roland was essentially the only member of the band at that time. But Break It Down Again is fun. That was definitely their biggest hit from that era.
Do you want to bring up the girl that was with them?
Yeah, Lauren Evans, right?
Yeah, I believe it was Lauren Evans.
She killed it. She actually did all the lead vocals on Suffer the Children. Suffer the Children was cool to bring back, too. Like, that's not one I expected to hear, and they did that. They hit the Hurting pretty strong. And The Hurting's a great album. Wait, is it called The Hurting? Am I brain fart? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's The Hurting, their first one. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she looked like she was having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
She was dancing a lot.
Even when she wasn't, like, singing, she was dancing through, like, all the songs. She had a great spirit. She killed it when she did the vocals. Because she was there, I think that's part of why they brought Badman's song back, which was a fun song. That's another one I was not expecting. Speaking of hits, Sowing the Seeds of Love was another good one.
Yes.
They did a great one with that.
And we got all of these visuals with, like, flowers.
Yeah.
And...
I want to say, like, Garbage did, like, exactly an hour, and Tears for Fears did, like an hour 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
A fucking great show. I know this is towards the end of their American tour. They got a few dates left. If you haven't seen it yet, fucking, it's worth it. Do it. If you're on the fence, do it. Great show. Any final thoughts before we drive home?
Well, now I have to get that final garbage thought in.
Oh, yes, your final garbage thought. This thought's gonna be trash. She already said it's garbage, so I don't know why she wants it out. Oh, the band Garbage. Oh, God, I get confused.
Listen, I need to say, I need to have my trashy thought out before the video ends.
Well, I mean, they did great.
They did do
for
great.
an opening act, you can't ask for any more. They killed it for an opening.
Yes.
My biggest complaint for Garbage, in fact, would be the sun was setting during their show. So, like, the last few songs I had the sun in my eyes.
We were all like,
Could they please
Turn
lower the sun
down
a
the
bit
sun,
faster while they're
please.
performing? It is obnoxious to deal with it. We are annoyed. So, I would have given them 5 stars for an opening act, but that sun was obnoxious, so 0 stars. Thank you.
yeah, I know, I was thinking that whole time. We had, like, our hands going like this, but we were kind of bobbing along. And I was thinking to ourselves, we can just pretend like we're dancing.
Well, we can bring up overpriced merch. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I got myself a Garbage t-shirt, and she got the fancy Tears for Fears long sleeve shirt. I thought about getting the tour shirt. The tour shirt didn't thrill me, so I got the Tears for Fears Seeds of Love shirt. And she got the same Garbage shirt as I did.
Yes.
But smaller, obviously. But
So
yes.
I'm tinier than he is.
Isn't that weird? And parking looks like it's freeing up a bit. We might be able to get out
Yeah,
soon.
we might be able to leave.
Oh my God, and the cars are moving. Awesome.
Yes.
The video was useful, so now we could record while the cars are getting out. But yeah, great show. If you're not sure about going to see it, go see it. The UK tour starts soon, so if you're in the UK and you're on the fence, go see it. God, Tears for Fears killed it. Loved it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was my thoughts on our thoughts on the concerts, I should say. George, you definitely need to come next time. It was so goddamn good.
Yeah, I really want to. Just logistically, I couldn't make it work, and I'm still bummed about it.
Who will open for them? I will say my biggest gripe about Garbage was that they only did an hour, and it's like I wanted more.
Well, I know. I mean, I think they were opening instead of co-headlining.
Yeah, no, they were very much an opening act. But they did a great job. I would be interested to see them headline a show, honestly, because I'd like to see them when they have like more control of the stage. Because the stage was very they did some fun stuff with the stage setup, but it was very much set up for the Tears for Fears show.
Yeah,
it's typical when you're an opening act. You kind of have to work with what they're doing.
Exactly.
But they did a great job. They're both amazing shows. Yeah, I think the Tears for Fears Garbage, I think they only have a couple more dates. If you happen to be nearby and you're on the fence, just go see it. But yeah, I think they're going to the UK in a little bit, and then who's opening? It's Alison Monet? Is that it? No. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, Alison Monet from the Yazoo, who are more popular
I will
over there.
admit I do not like her as much as Garbage, but she is very cool as well. That'd be a show I'd like if you're over in the UK, I'd probably recommend that one as well. She's probably a really good opener. But
yeah, I thought that she was touring the States, but
no,
I guess not.
I think
with
Garbage.
Garbage.
Actually, even looks like Garbage might be doing opening for a different band after Tears for Fears leave. So I'm not exactly sure how that works out. But you know what? Having Garbage as an opener for Tears for Fears was a great combo. It's like, damn, one band I love and one band I really fucking like. Okay, really.
Yeah, no, that's a great combo.
But yes, you will definitely have to check it out. So next week, do a little bit of closing. Next week we are going to be doing kind of the last 3 episodes of Obi-Wan, and then kind of just do our recap on the whole series. The first 3 episodes of Miss Marvel, and the first 4 episodes of The Boys Season 2. It's all TV next week. Will you be joining us, George? All right.
Yeah, should be able to. I will definitely be caught up with Obi-Wan and The Boys at that point. I haven't seen anything of Miss Marvel.
If you're welcome to sit in and discuss it with us if you have any, like if you have any questions and stuff, you're allowed to throw it in. That being said, I've seen the first 2 Miss Marvels. I have to say it's really good so far. I'd recommend checking it out. It's like a fun series.
Cool.
But
yeah, I'm excited to talk about Obi-Wan.
So am I, because god damn, I'm sick of the hate train on this one.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like with Star Wars, like I feel like anything new since probably Jedi has gotten like this big wave of hate trains and like, oh, this is the worst thing ever created. It's like, you need to get out more.
People like I remember when the prequels came out, it's the worst thing ever created. And, I wasn't thrilled with the prequels, but I felt like people did get a bit over the top with it. But now all of a sudden people are talking about how the prequels are masterpieces and it's the sequels that are the worst thing ever. And it's like, guys, I've been through this before. I know what happens in 20 years. Spoiler.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get more into that next week. But
Obi-Wan's part of that too now. Yay.
Yep. Yay.
But, yep, everyone have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
I want to go ahead and add some audio credits at the end here. The theme music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this podcast was written and performed by George Johnson, a very good friend of mine. And my current Patreons are Fel Martins, David Lara, and Lindsay Pankhurst. If you'd like to become a patron, go ahead and follow the link down below. Anything you can provide would be incredibly helpful to this channel. We're barely limping by right now. I'd love to make this my full-time job. I'm miles away from that right now. So any help you could provide, just $1 a month would be amazing. You know you want to. All your friends are doing it.
To find kind of funny and to find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. But when people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
That's a good closing.
Yeah!